ॐ ध्यायामो धवलावगुण्ठनवतीं तेजोमयीं नैष्टिकीं स्निग्धापाङ्गविलोकिनीं भगवतीं मन्दस्मितश्रीमुखीं वात्सल्यामृतवर्षिणीं सुमधुरं सङ्कीर्तनालापिनीं श्यामाङ्गीं मधुसिक्तसूक्तम् अमृतानन्दात्मिकाम् ईश्वरी ॐ अमृतेश्वरी नमः। ॐ अमृतेश्वरी नमः। ॐ अमृतेश्वरी। So once again, welcome everyone. Welcome, sir. So over to you, sir.
Namaste everyone. So today we are going to talk about a very famous river in the Ṛgveda. So as a recap, if you look at the previous talks about the rivers, we have covered quite a long list of rivers, starting with Hariyupya and Yavyavati. If you remember, the two rivers in Haryana, which are the Chautang River and western channel of Yamuna. So the Chautang River, Hariyupya, is also known as Drishatvadi, and it is also mentioned in the Mahabharata with many other names like Raupya, etc. And again in the Rigveda as Kulisi River, and Yavyavati is like again mentioned in the Middle Rigvedic period as Anjasi, that is straight flowing river. So that we have mentioned. Then we have like focused on Ganga River. Uh, I mean, the most sacred river of Bharata currently after Saraswati dry up. So all the aspects of Ganga we have covered. Ganga in the sixth mandala, third mandala, first mandala, 10th mandala, all. And I mentioned it is we found that it is the mentioned in the oldest mandalas of the Rigveda, which is an important point refuting the west to east migration proposed by the Aryan invasion theory. So Ganga being the one of the oldest rivers mentioned in the oldest Rigveda, that is sixth mandala. The migration has to be from Ganga to westward or east to west. So that is one important point we mentioned. And then we mentioned about Saraswati River, the most referred river in the Rigveda, around 71 times, while other rivers are mentioned very less amount of time. Like we will see Sindhu is mentioned only for around 27 references. So almost only half, less than half of time. So that is the Saraswati's significance. We have seen Saraswati mentioned sixth mandala, third and seventh mandala, when Sudas was ruling with his advisors like Vishwamitra and Vasishta. And the Saraswati in middle mandala, eighth mandala, 10th mandala, where Saraswati become a goddess, mentioned as a goddess more and more. I mean, she's a goddess, even when she's a river, she's a goddess, but more and more the goddess form nature of Saraswati become more prominent in the later and later Vedic period. Then we found mentioned, I mean, discussed about Drishatvati and Apaya rivers, two important tributaries of Saraswati in Haryana. Then we mentioned about the Punjab rivers, Vipash and Sudutri, that is Bias and Satluj, and mentioned about how Vishwamitra was like taking army, a battalion of Suda's forces crossing the river Bias and Satluj, Vibhas and Sudutri. And we noted very importantly that he was crossing the river not with horse-driven chariots, but with bull-driven chariots, which are typical of the chariots and wagons and carts that were existing during the this fourth century, the late fourth century millennium, fourth millennium, like between 3200 BC to 3000 BC. We had uh, chariots, carts, and wagons drawn by not by horses, but the animals which are slower than a horse, because the chariots which with a good integrity to be driven by horses when the horse move very fast, that was not invented at that period of time. So that important point we noted. and how it is also like aligning with our chronology, where we put early Ṛgvedic period at 3300 BC to around 3000 BC period, and the middle Ṛgvedic period after that, and late Ṛgvedic period ending at 1900 BC. And in the later periods, you will also see horse-driven chariots mentioned, chariot races, races of kings and warriors using chariots. So horse becomes an important draft animal of the chariots. And those is in the later, subsequently in the later, middle and late Ṛgvedic period, the kings and the warriors of Ṛgveda uses the horse-driven chariots. And we also noted that two elements which are very important for the Ṛgveda. One is Ashwa, or the horse, mostly coming from the Gandhara, the Gandharva region. Gandharvas are considered as one of the sources of the horses. And in the Mahabharata, the Gandharvas are revealed to be the Gandharas. And from there, the best quality horses are coming there. Soma ritual also have a kind of northwestern origin, and it is spread to all over the Ṛgvedic territory. So all the Soma also has some kind of northwestern origin. Northwest doesn't mean that from Europe somewhere, but it is somewhere in the northwestern Pakistan region. Even the rivers like Sushoma exemplifies that. There is a Sohan river currently in northwestern Pakistan. So horses, Soma, and Agni. Also, like Agni is mentioned as Bhrigu, the inventor of Agni is mentioned as Bhrigu. So three technologies, there is a kind of northwestern origin. One is Agni, then Soma is not a technology, but Soma a culture that has like a northwestern origin. And this Ashwa, or the good quality horses from the northwestern side. That doesn't mean that Indian subcontinent doesn't have horses. We had kind of a medium height horses, Shivalik horses. Even the Narmada River Valley is famous for such horses. But the kings and warriors wanted the most powerful horses in their chariot races, horse races, or in the battlefield. That is why the interest in getting the larger and bigger, more stamina horses from the northwest. So that we have noted. Then after Vipashududri, Yamuna we have noted. Not an unfamiliar, it's a totally familiar Yamuna we have noted. We noted about the Battle of Yamuna. Then we have Parushni River we have discussed, that is the Ravi River in the Indo-Pakistan border, where we noted down the Battle of Parushni, which is famous as the Dashrajana battle. And very importantly, we noted in the Dashrajana battle, a very surprising element that the ancestor of the Pandavas are on the other side of the battle, that is represented by Samvarana in the Mahabharata, and in the Ṛgveda as Kuru of scornful speech, like an enemy of Sudas. So that interesting point we have mentioned. And what happened after that, we know the Samvarana got defeated. He fled to westward, further westwards, and lived in Sindhu River, where the Vedic Sarayu, the western Sarayu, is connected with Sindhu. In that area, he got allied with the western branch of the Ikshwakus, and this resulted into the Bharata branch blending with the Ikshwaku branch, resulted in the Kuru lineage, and the Kurus came to Kurukshetra, and Kurus came to the Varaprithvya, that is the region between Vrishadvati and Saraswati in the northern Haryana, and Kuru named it as Kurukshetra. That is the first time the name Kurukshetra, and it is not recorded in the Ṛgveda because these are all happened in the late, almost towards the end of the Ṛgvedic period. And the name didn't get acceptance during from the Ṛgvedic authors. The Ṛgvedic rishis not much interested with that name, but starting from Mahabharata, they used that Mahabharata and Ramayana. They started using the word Kuru Jangala, etc. That Kuru's dominance is accepted, starting with Ramayana. So Ramayana also, even though it talks about Sri Rama, Bharata, Lakshmana, etc., they mention Kuru Jangala as an important place in the Ramayana, which is also another surprise element, which not many people knows about. So that is a recap. Of course, then we have seen the Asikni River, that is the Chenab River, which is also known as the Black River, or the river of the Daitya Danavas, etc. So in the Ṛgveda, the black color indicate the color of the river, and of course also some kind of hostility, because the enemies of Indra worshipping Sudas and his descendants or living there. So somewhere the rishis try to play with the word black, and try to say that the Daitya Danavas are in that stronghold of the Daitya Danavas in the Chenab River. So that is the blackness. But the Aryan invasion theorists got totally confused. They think about now the black races of people, but never true. Because in the Mahabharata and Ramayana, Daitya Danavas are mentioned as fair-skinned people. So they are the people who are on the banks of the river Asikni or Chenab. We can call today, if you call them, you can call them, they're like somewhat like Pakistanis, etc. But that's not correct, because these things happened before any of the current contemporary history of India Pakistan that emerged in 1947. Then we have seen an interesting river Vibali, which is Asikni, this Vitasta river, the river of Kashmir, and it's three flows. Three flows. One is the Vibali flow, which directly connected with Sindhu river, and the second one is the current flow, that is the Jalam river, current flow of the Jalam river, that is the in the 10th mandala it is recorded as Vitasta, the transformed or shifted river. That is the meaning itself. Vitasta means the river that is shifted its course. So the Vibali shifted its course, and then it is came to be known as Vitasta. Again, this course shifting, everything happened somewhere around the middle Ṛgvedic period. The name Vidasta started sticking only from the late Ṛgvedic period. So this is also why, right, the Kuru coming back to Kurukshetra happened somewhere in the early part of the late Ṛgvedic period. But the name started sticking together. The name Kurukshetra and Kurujangala started sticking only after the Ṛgvedic period in the Ramayana and Mahabharata. So there will be some shift in the after events happened. There will be some period of time for the acceptance. So you can see that same thing for the river Vitasta, and same for the names like Kurukshetra and Kurujangala. There is some at least 100 years delay in accepting that name, etc., and getting recorded into our Rigveda or into the Itihasas, etc. Now, that's all about the recap, some 15 minutes recap. And now today, after Vibali, we are now talking about Sindhu River. So the Sindhu River, nobody has need an introduction to the Sindhu River. Like in a conferences, there will be some famous people. Then what will the first person, the main speaker who is introducing the subsequent speakers, they will say that this person doesn't require any introduction. So Sindhu River is something like that, doesn't require any introduction. But in the Rigveda, one of the important fact is that the river Sindhu, because the names, there is a confusion here, because unless you are very much thorough with Rigveda, the name Sindhu can also mean a generic river. So it can also simply mean river. So generically, like I mentioned about Apaya also have same property. So Apaya can also generally mean river. So unless you know the geographical context or some other context, because of the subsequent and the later, earlier and subsequent slokas or riks, you have to be very careful whether the river is Sindhu, when you say whether it is referring to some other river or it is a Sindhu itself, that is Indus River itself. So that problem is there with the name, the noun Sindhu, similar to whatever Apaya is also having. So apart from that, the river itself, the Indus River itself is mentioned as Sindhu starting with the 4th mandala onwards. That is in the middle Ṛgvedic period. And just like the transformation happened for Saraswati, as you go into later periods, like from the middle Ṛgvedic period onwards, Sindhu is also mentioned as a goddess. And here actually, again, grammatically, you have to be very, very much alert, because the name, the Sindhu sometimes mentioned as a male, masculine name. But other places when Sindhu is mentioned as a goddess, she is in a feminine form, feminine actually. Same Sindhu, and but it's masculine and feminine actually. So for example, in some places we say that many rivers come and join Sindhu, and there will be a masculine term is used there. And some other place the river is mentioned as a goddess, this is a feminine form. Then the 4th mandala, you can see the river transforming into a, or more or less getting identified as a goddess, just like Saraswati, because after Saraswati, Sindhu is the most sacred, more venerated river in the Rigveda. So definitely whatever transformation happened to the river Saraswati, like getting identified as a goddess, a similar transformation happened to the river Sindhu, getting identified as a goddess, etc. And even in the fifth mandala, there is it's mentioned about the Ṛgvedic Agni reaching Sindhu, river Sindhu. That is mentioned in the fifth mandala, and this is a very important significance because Ṛgvedic Agni reaching some place automatically means the what do you call the Vedic civilization advancing towards the Sindhu river banks. So you rightly know, the exact mention of the river Sindhu to refer to the Indus River happened from fourth mandala onwards, and fifth mandala is just later to the fourth mandala. Of course, here the number becomes number by accident it become, or by coincidence the number becomes also chronologically correct. So fourth, after fourth or fifth mandala, you will see you mention of the Agni reaching Sindhu River, which means the Vedic civilization which emerged in the Haryana region, northern Haryana, like between Trishadvadi and Saraswati, completely reached the Sindhu river bank. And that is statement is made like Agni reaching Sindhu river. That will be you can find in the fifth mandala actually. And there are mentions about some of the tributaries of Sindhu, which is also why we know that this particular Sindhu is refers to the actual river Indus, because it mentioned about the tributaries like Anitabha, Ubha, and Sarayu, some of the tributaries of Sindhu. And Kubha, we know Kabul River. Anitabha is another river in the border of Kashmir, flowing to the from the inner direction of west to east. The river is flowing and draining into the this Sindhu. We'll see that river later. And Sarayu, here the tributary of Sindhu Sarayu, that is not the Uttar Pradesh Sarayu, it is the Haro River, that is Harayu. It is mentioned in the Avestan text, the Persian answer. There is a mother of Persian, the Avestan language, the language of the Daitya Danavas, or the Anava language. That is a Western language. The river is mentioned as Harayu. So just like Saraswati is mentioned as Harakpati in the Western language, the river Sarayu is mentioned as Harayu in the Western language. And this is not the Uttar Pradesh Sarayu. It is a tributary of Sindhu River, and it is in Pakistan, currently known as Haro. And Haro is a kind of a short form of the Harayu, because the river's original name is Sarayu, flowing into the river Sindhu. And this is the place where Samvarna was getting asylum, and he lived along with the rest of Nikshaka, the same Sarayu River. And the Sarayu River is mentioned as Harayu in the Western language, and that Harayu got shortened, and that became Haro, and that Haro River is currently in Pakistan. So that is all mentioned in the fifth mandala. This we start to get the names of the river tributaries of the Sindhu River, etc. So we can very clearly see the poet is exactly referring to the Sindhu River itself, the Indus River. And then the eighth mandala, you will have similarly there is in the eighth mandala also there are some references to Sindhu. And very first time the name Krivi, the name of a clan Krivi, comes in the eighth mandala as along the river, like Sindhu River, associated with the river Sindhu, and it is one of the five tribes constituting the Panchalas actually. So Panchala is a confederation of so many different branches, and Srinjaya, Somaga, Bharata, like that, and Krivi. So many around five confederation, five tribe confederation, the Panchala tribe. That is also you get in the eighth mandala, etc. So this is all about this like the Sindhu River actually. And again, there is a lot of transformations happened in the for the river Sindhu, which we will deal with in subsequent like river hydrologically. A lot of transformation happens. Something similar to Vibali River. Yeah, in the previous session I mentioned the Vibali drained into river Sindhu. At that time, the river Sindhu itself was flowing a little bit eastward than compared to whatever it is today. So Sindhu River also undergone a lot of dynamism. And maybe I just share the screen to give a glimpse of it. Just a minute. Okay. Yeah, share screen. Yeah, I think I need to get the sharing rights still not available with me. Can the host provide the sharing screen share option? It is not there now. Hello. Uh, I need to get the screen share option.
Okay, sir. 1 second.
Hmm.
Oish. Satish ji, can you make sir host? Satish ji?
Yeah. So maybe in the interest of time, I will, by this happens, I will continue. So that's about it. And as I mentioned, the river Sindhu is mentioned 27 times compared to the river Saraswati. Around 71 times Saraswati and 27 times Sindhu. So you can understand what is the importance to Sindhu with respect to the Saraswati river. And as I mentioned, the actual river Sindhu mentioned start from the fourth mandala onwards. Is it ready now? Yeah, I think no, still not ready. So we had discussed Sindhu up to eighth mandala. So I have to show once this screen share is there, I will show about the hydrology part of it. But then the 10th mandala is very important. That is where the Nadi Sukta comes in. So we have been discussing the Nadi Sukta quite often in all our talks because it is a very geographically intense sukta. Where no, you basically get large number of river because so as I mentioned, my book talk about around 30 plus 32 plus rivers and around 40 plus river names, hydronyms, out of which 21 rivers automatically you get from the Nadi Sukta itself. That is almost your data for the research of the rivers of the Rigveda. The largest amount of data coming from the single Sukta, Nadi Sukta. Because 21 rivers are mentioned in the Nadi Sukta itself. So I have quite often I mentioned about the Nadi Sukta and how it is helping to identify the location of Saraswati because Saraswati is mentioned between Yamuna in the eastern side and Satluj or Sududri in the western side. So in between, if the river Saraswati is mentioned in between, automatically make it the river of Haryana. So that's a very straightforward thing, nursery level understanding, which some of the innovation theory people are not ready to absorb. That's a very strange thing. What about so that is the Nadi Sukta. So it is a if you people forget this is the 10th mandala 7th Sukta. Sorry, 75th Sukta. So in the 10th mandala, if you look at the 75th, you get the Nadi Sukta in that by the this Ṛgvedic Rishi Sindukshit Priyametha. So this Nadi Suksha is completely like if you look at which river it is focusing on the river Sindhu, and other rivers are mentioned as a passing references. Other rivers are mentioned. So the Sukta is addressing the river Sindhu. Now the Nadi Sukta is addressed to the river Sindhu, and it also passingly mentions about 21 rivers apart from the river Sindhu. And the it's a well structured data. Sindukshit Priyametha can be considered as the humanity's oldest geographer. Of course, all these founder of math, geometry, everything. Some Westerners get the credit actually, but if you want to make any founder of geography, that should be Sindukshit Priyametha. The Priyametha is his father's ancestor's name. So his Priyametha means he's a descendant of Priyametha. So we can call him Sindukshit. He is the founder of geography. For example, oldest book Rigveda, largest number of river references, and the rivers are not just mentioned just like that. In a well-structured manner, he is referring to. So, for example, the 10th mandala, 75th Sukta, fifth line or fifth Rik. the fifth stanza, the part A, that is the first part, first pada, first two padas, it will talk about eastern rivers. That is rivers to the east of Sindhu River. That is Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati. Like that, it gives all the names of the rivers, individual rivers which are not connected to River Sindhu. Is found in the fifth stanza of this sukta. And the second part of the fifth stanza, you will see the eastern tributaries of Sindhu. That is Sududri, Parushni, Asukni, Vitasta. All these, you can say, all these rivers which are the eastern tributaries of Sindhu is mentioned subsequently. And then another collection, another set of geographical data, which is in the next stanza. That is 10th mandala, 75th sukta, 6th stanza or 6th rik. In that, the western tributaries of Sindhu will be mentioned. That is Kuba, Mehatnu, then Gomati, then with so many other western side tributaries are mentioned. And to the end, there are two more river names mentioned, Urnavati and Silamavati are mentioned in the last by this 10th mandala 76 sukta end with that. So I have anyway. Subsequently, we will talk about these two rivers. This is part of the river sequence itself. So there are two debates about Urnavati and Silamavati. As per some scholars, these are the same synonymous names of river Sindhu itself. And the alternative view is that these are two more tributaries of Sindhu. And I have identified it with the Sulu River, some rivers in the Ladakh region. I have identified it. So we will talk about it in subsequent classes. And as I mentioned, the river Sindhu can also mean other rivers. So there are two examples in Ṛgveda. In the Mahabharata and Ramayana, so many more examples will be there. The river Sindhu is used for generic name river. That is there in the Mahabharata and Ramayana, many places it is there. River Sindhu is also mentioned to denote ocean, Sagara. So there are multiple uses of the noun Sindhu. You can mention refer to any river. It can refer to ocean. It can refer to the Indus River itself. So there are two places where the river Sindhu is mentioned to denote Yamuna River. That is there in the 7th mandala. And in the second mandala, only once it is referring to Saraswati. Saraswati is referred as a Sindhu, I mean as a river. And in this 7th mandala, Yamuna is mentioned as a Sindhu. Then even grammatically we can understand, because it's a pronoun. Basically, it is not used in the sense of a noun. It will be like used in the sense of like a common noun. For example, a river. Whatever in English we say a river, no? The river, a river. So it's not exactly like pinpointing to the Indus River. And especially you don't see any, subsequently you will understand, like this is 7th mandala, the river, it is mentioned as Sindhu. Like after so many references to Yamuna, the river is again mentioned as Sindhu, like so that we understand, okay, this is Yamuna is talking about, the poet is talking about Yamuna. And Yamuna is referred to as a river, just like some river like that. And it is mentioned in the context of the battle, the battle of Yamuna. So the entire context, it is very well clear that the river Yamuna is referred. But in single line or single stanza, this Yamuna is mentioned as Sindhu, 7th mandala, the early Ṛgvedic period. This is again because this understanding is not there, the people get confused. And they take this Aryan emission theories wrongly take this particular data point as like no, the people, the Ṛgvedic people reached the Sindhu River in the early Ṛgvedic period. But it is not true, because the contextual information very clearly shows that it is Yamuna is referred there. Same thing in second mandala. Very clear, context becomes very clear that is Saraswati is implied there. And there the second mandala, the Saraswati is referred as Sindhu.